What's up guys? So today I wanted to show you the suspension setup I have on my car. I just did a service on it, new filter, oil, checked all my grease points, made sure everything was in good shape after the trip. Everything's fantastic, everything held together good, and I'm throwing on my winter wheels as I've got it up in the air because nobody likes to run their fancy wheels when you can have snow and ice and the rest of the crap that comes with the bullshit that is winter. So here's the setup. Okay, so up front I put Tokico blue struts and Eibach Pro Kit springs, and we have Ford Escape front end links. They are much more heavy duty than the stock end links. Okay, I also have a eBay upper strut tower bar. It's a little bit wider and it didn't fit right, so I actually had to flip it around and run the arc backwards up along the firewall. It was supposed to run out, but the battery and the mounting for the battery and everything got in the way, and I actually think it looks better this way. It doesn't hide so much of the engine, and it will look really good when I get my intake replaced. Another thing I want to talk about real quick, I can't really show it and it doesn't really fit in any of the other videos I have planned for this channel, but I want to talk about my power steering briefly. A lot of people remove the pump, they'll remove the belt, they'll loop the lines, things like this. They're quick, they're easy, it's a quick way to remove the sap of power from the power steering pump. I've had a lot of crap from people, oh, you're not saving that much weight, it's not that big of a deal, your steering's gonna be crap. Bullshit. It's complete crap. Don't listen to any of these people. I have done it. It is done properly. If anybody has followed the Flying Miata guys, they depower the rack. They pull the pump off, they pull all the lines out. They don't loop the lines, which I did temporarily until I had the time to take the rack out. You remove the rack and pinion. You actually cut the piston off the shaft in the power rack and pinion, depowering it. Okay? The steering, I can one hand it in a parking lot. It's much easier and more comfortable to do two hands. That said, I have a very small steering wheel. It does not have a stock steering wheel in it. I've got a very small steering wheel. I think it's 13 inches or something, 12 and a half inches. It's a very small wheel. It's not a 14 and a half like they are stock, okay? With the power steering pump gone, the reservoir, all the hard lines, all of that, I put it in a box on a scale and it was 18 pounds. This car weighs, what, 3,000 pounds wet, tank of gas, me in it, about 3,000 pounds. They've got as close to a 50-50 weight distribution as you can get, so you really don't have that heavy of power steering. When I looped the lines, it was a monster to steer. It felt like the power rack had gone out, and it was horrible. It was horrible, okay? Depowering it and just greasing up the shaft and reassembling everything like a non-power steering car would have, even with the shorter ratio in the gearbox in the power rack, it drives fine. And when you're going around a corner in this car with the rack depowered the way it is, you can actually feel a wheel spin in the corner. So if you're going around a left-handed corner and the left front wheel starts to spin and peel a little bit, you can feel the car pull. It is completely changed the drivability of the car. It's completely changed the way it feels going down the road. And like I said, when you're moving down the road, you can't tell that there's no power steering at all. At all. And one of the big differences that I have noticed when it's just driving, horsepower-wise, I can feel the engine want to rev easier. It tries to rev, it wants to. It doesn't have that pump taking power from it. I mean, it was a fantastic mod, and if you're a driver and you like to drive your car like I do and you want to set it up for driving, not for just comfort, depower your rack. It takes a day's work. And I was a novice and I'd never changed tie rod ends before, and I put new inner and outers on it. I did a kind of a janky string alignment on it just so I could drive it around and let everything get settled in for a little while, and my alignment actually wasn't too bad. When I took it to the shop, they only had to turn one wheel in just a smidge, so it actually worked out pretty well. But if you're interested in doing something like this, you need to go to Flying Miata They've got a forum and a website and everything, all this kind of stuff they do. And it's the same basic principle that they use. The rack's a little bit different, it's assembled a little bit differently. However, I followed that, and it's pretty straightforward and it's easy. Like I said, I'm a bit of a novice and I have very limited tools, but I made do with what I had. And I got my rack out, I depowered that sucker, and I put it all back together in a couple hours. It took me longer to get the rack out of the car than it did for me to take it apart, depower it, reassemble it. So it's a great mod. You should check it out. Flying Miata, great write-up. In the back, we also have the Tokico blue struts and Eibach springs. The kit that came with this for the springs was a 1.3 inch drop in the front and a 1.1, a 1.2 in the back. So it dropped the front a fraction more than the rear, which is good because these tend to sit a little bit lower in the back. It has adjustable end links, courtesy of AWR. And the rear sway bar is 22 millimeter. Let me get under the car and we'll get a better view of that. Okay, so here's a sway bar from underneath the car. This is the first time I've been under it since I installed all this stuff, and I am seeing now how dirty and filthy it is. It's disgusting. But that's a better view of the adjustable end links. And I have the bar pretty tight, as you can see where it's mounted. It does not drag anywhere, and when the car is sitting down level on the ground, that sway bar comes up quite a bit, so it's not as low as it looks under here. But that made a huge difference as far as keeping the rear tight. And I've actually got a little bit of lift off oversteer a couple of times going through corners a little bit faster than I should have. But this kit from AWR came with the end links, the sway bar, the brackets. It came with relocation brackets, as you can see right here, to keep the sway bar from binding up against the rear chassis. Came with new bushings, came with everything. It was a complete bolt-on kit. It was money very well spent. I also have a rear strut tower bar in the back. They do not come with these stock. This one is actually off an MX6 or the Probe, and you have to cut holes in the trim panels and modify the seatbelt brackets, which it really isn't a big deal. But of everything that I've done so far, for handling wise for this car, this has removed the most body roll out of it, even though it has severely hampered my ability to haul stuff. There we go. Sitting back on our little winter chromies. Still think it looks good. This is the first time I've seen it since I lowered it when it's sitting on its stock wheels. Definitely looks better with its 17s, but I'm not going to complain.